Okay, we left off 204. We're finishing up the halacha regarding the actual sukkah itself. So we said that the sukkah itself is muktzah. Two oh two, excuse me. Okay, we're holding over here in the Ramah. The Ramah Hagov Afilu Nofla Sukkah Asurim. Even if the sukkah should collapse, everything's not permitted. Lo mahari bo tanai. Aval eitzem asmuchim l'sukkah mutorim. Ayin le'el sim tov kuf yutches sivches. Take a look in Rashi Vov. Mishna Berura. V'lo mahari bo tanai. Afim ome eni boldo kol ben hashmoshos. Came the efshalito ben hashmoshos shim dekososa olo. Viskatzi l'kol kulei shiva. Mash'enki menoi sukkah sivbeis mahani b'shom tanai. He differentiates between the sukkah itself and the decorations, the ornaments of the sukkah. We'll say, explain him. Dado, the mash b'stivus ramot lomhani tanai b'shum gavan filu noflu, hainu dav kshiv sayomi, av shmidi shelo, the yisur rak mishum muktzah, mani bo tanai sheyifu l'shioch l'shtamish b'hem. Now, it's interesting. No, he's saying interesting. He makes a tanai that from the very onset of Yom Tiv, you want to benefit from the walls of the sukkah. Then it collapses. It's off limits the whole 7 days. Why? Because if the sukkah stands at the entry part of Yom Tiv, what is it? You can't benefit from it. You can't take apart the sukkah because it's dismantling. You're not permitted. It's called stira. So once the Tanai has no relevance to the actual sukkah itself, it's off limits the whole time, the whole 7-day period. Regarding sukkah, your Tanai is totally meaningless. Now, why did we say on the 8th day, the Mechaber said, why on Shmini Atzes, why is the sukkah still muktzah? Because you may have to eat bein hashmoshos, but if, let's say, the sukkah collapses. So really, the entry part of the 8th night, the 8th day, has no relevance. So why on Shmini Atzes would it not be permitted? Because keeping this katzoy. Because you can't dismantle it at the entry point. Correct? But let's say it collapsed before then. So it's dismantled. That entity has no relevance to the mitzvah sukkah any longer. Okay? But he says, what about the decorations? If he would say any boldul mehem, he'd say, from the entry point, I want the decoration should not assume kedusha shviyas. Should not assume the kedusha of shviyas. Of sukkah. And now Cholamoid, you want to take off one of the decorations and use it for whatever you can? You can. Because since when it started, he says, Mash'en b'noi sukkah sebei da'an shamtanai da'ado the mashtimis ramo lo mahani tanai b'shum gavna afilu noflu hainu dav kshiv sayomim b'shmidi shelo d'yisur rak mishum muktzah mahani tanai sh'riplu shiyochel l'shnamish ben. Okay, aval eitzem asmuchim ayin leil simin Kuftuf. Yes, Rotzelam de Shamvur Bagodim Zorak Chavilo Shel Al Schach. Den Betelus Gabi Schach. Do Din Hocha Besuko de Mitzvah. Aisha Mishmru. Okay, let's go further. The Ma'acha Sheosa Ashir Tzorach Hatzorach. Now we left off here. We said for sukkah you only need 3 walls. Let's say after he puts up 3 walls. Im Acha Sheosa Ashir Hatzorach Min Adfanos Nishlam Hersh Sukkah Hosef Dofen. Let's say initially he put up 3 walls, and then after he decides to put up a 4th wall, lo mitzvah. The 4th wall is permitted, because the 4th wall was not put up to be part of the sukkah. That's just an addition. Avalim osa arbatan stam. I mean, let's say initially had in mind, I want my sukkah to be a 3-wall sukkah, not 4 walls. So if that's the case, when he puts up the 4th wall, if it should Cholamoid, he could use that 4th wall. Because he already designated what's the sukkah, 3 walls in the sukkah. But if he said, this year I want to have a 4-wall sukkah, And he didn't differentiate which wall is the sukkah, which wall is not the sukkah. All four walls should function as the sukkah. All four walls. Kuban asuras muktos. All four walls are off limits.
Should you go the other way? Four walls. You decided, or maybe three walls.
He has to decide that before Yom Tov starts. No. No, he's thinking out, initially he meant he wanted four walls, then on Yom Tov he changes his mind. It's too late. Before Yom Tov you could change your mind. Right? Let's see, this year I want three walls. That fourth wall I do not want to be part. It's only because I don't want the wind to blow in. Right? To insulate it. That wall will not assume the status. If Cholamoid you want to take away that fourth wall, it's not a problem.
Oh, then you can add a fourth wall here? If you have a three-wall sukkah and Cholamoid you want to add a fourth
Sure,
wall?
why can't you add a fourth wall? If the sukkah collapses, you want to build a brand new sukkah from scratch. Cholamoid, you can build it.
So you can put decorations also on Cholamoid?
Sure.
But not on, you can't do anything?
Yom Tif is something else, because Yom Tif, it's a question of binyan, you're building. You're not permitted to build or dismantle, right? So that you're not permitted.
What with the decoration?
Decoration's not simple. Like if you want to, let's say you want to hang something on your wall in the house. I mean, the sukkah is a structure. It's considered a structure attached to the ground. Okay? Let's see. That's only the sukkah where he actually sat in the sukkah. It wasn't only designated sukkah, he actually fulfilled the mitzvah with the sukkah. Let's say a person builds a sukkah, and then he goes out of town for the first days. And Cholamoid decides he wants to dismantle the sukkah and use it for whatever else. Use the boards for something else, it's not a problem. Because since it was never utilized for the mitzvah itself, Mishna Berura Now, we discussed many times, a sukkah does not have to be made for the sake of a mitzvah. Initially, it was made as purely for shade, to protect yourself from the sun. And then, sukkahs, he goes into that structure. He has in mind, he wants to use that structure for a sukkah. And he sits in it to be yotzei mitzvah. It's a sukkah, correct? So that's what he's saying. He says, we're speaking here initially, the sukkah didn't have to be built for the mitzvah. It was built for shade, a shade hut. Came the bedina suk share of Yoshua Pamachas Asura Shuv Kol Yimei Chag. Venirali Demairish is minim betchilo shem sukas achag. O the beishi Yoshua hoyadato leishua Kol Yimei Chag. Now we discussed this. We discussed it with the tefillin bag or a paper bag. If you want to put your tefillin in a paper bag, just one time to protect the tefillin, it's the bag that assumes no level of kedusha. Why? Because it's purely to protect. It was never designated. You need two things. You need designation and you need usage. If you have one without the other, it doesn't assume any special status. So if you have a hut that was built for shade, and a person goes into the sukkah, and he says, I want to use it just for tonight. The sukkah, but it's a hut that's made for shade, a structure for shade. He says, then it will not assume the status of sukkah. It's only when you sat there, you had in mind that I want to use this for 7 days. So therefore, that's a designation. So you haven't.
He wouldn't be Yom Tif then?
No, not before. On Yom Tif. He goes into the sukkah and says, this sukkah I want to use for 7 days.
Maybe it wasn't a sukkah,
It was a hut purely for shade, to protect the person from shade.
Built for
do
shade.
that on sukkahs.
On sukkahs.
So why would he be Yom Tif for that? Why would that?
Why not?
How does that work?
No. To be
It wasn't
yotzei,
built- it wasn't built
you don't
for
have to
sukkah.
build it. We discussed that. A shade that's built by a non-Jew, right? Could you be yotzei with that? But it meets all the criteria of a kosher sukkah. Yotzei, right? It was built to provide shade. A watchman's hut, whatever the hut was. Yotzei. So you go into the sukkah. Let's say you have a watchman's hut. You say to the goy, could I use your hut for an hour? And you go and eat your meal in that sukkah. That hut, does it assume any special status? No.
There's no kedusha.
Has no kedusha. No kedusha. No whatsoever.
It's still a sukkah that he
Yotzei.
You could use the wood, etc.
Everything. Definitely. let's.
Still gives you the mitzvahs.
No, but again, because to assume special status, you need two things. You need designation and usage for its designation. You need two things. So he says, if, let's say, initially you built it for shade, a hut for shade, it was a watchman's hut, and then you go in there on Sukkot, and you have in mind, this hut I will use for the next 7 days, for the mitzvah. So now you're doing two things. You're using for the mitzvah, and having that in mind, that means you're designating this for the next 7 days to be used as a sukkah. Then it would assume that's called, it's been designated for a mitzvah. No, even middle of the day. Middle of the day. We're talking about, it's a different concept. We're speaking about, it's huktzal mitzvah. Something that's designated for mitzvah you can't use for something else. Even chol hamoed. So it's not a question of touching it, or we're talking about usage. Because since it assumed the special classification called mitzvah, it should not be used for anything else after Sukkot. But what did you have in mind? No, we're saying it's not an inherent designation. Unless you have in mind, my sitting now, I have in mind to use this location for the next 7 days. To use it once, that's not designation. That's like using a regular paper bag to put your tefillin one time. If you have in mind, from now on, this paper bag will be the location of my tefillin. You don't have to verbalize it. It's in the mind. You have this in mind. What about if you have a sukkah that stands from 1 year to the next? Right? That you used it last year has no relevance to this year. Every year you need a new designation and actually utilizing it. Let's say this year he doesn't need last year's sukkah. Right? This year it doesn't assume, again, it has to assume be redesignated. Once last year Yom Sukkot was over, that Kedusha came to an end, so you have to do another action. Others disagree with the Mogad Avram. They say since last year it was used for that, this year again, even though there's no question if he wants to undo it, he could undo it. Which means where he didn't undo it. You hear what they're speaking about? Last year, for years, we've used the sukkah. No. Never took it down. No. Maybe it's designation. Let's say he didn't go into it. Could he use that now, a cholamoid, could he use that sukkah that's been used for years, the cholamoid for firewood? He wants to dismantle and use firewood. Mogad Avram says he can. Because even though it may have been designation, it was never used. Right? This year he hadn't used it, because last year's Kedusha came to an end. After 7 days, it was annulled. Equivalent to being annulled. It has to be reestablished. It was never reestablished.
How do you reestablish it? By going in?
By using it for the mitzvah, and having in mind you want to use it for the mitzvah.
You don't have to announce it, you don't have to say verbalize.
No, as long as you know what you had in your mind. That's enough. It's interesting, in these Six Flags, they have all these things on sukkahs. And they build a sukkah. They put up a sukkah for people. But it's a sukkah just for one time. And it's worth their while to put up the sukkah, since it's not owned by Jews. Right? No, but I'm saying over there. Putting it up for them. But it's irrelevant, a Jew or not. Right? So over there, what would the sukkah be? Let's say afterwards they would take it apart. Could you use that material for something else on sukkahs? Right? It was designated to be used one time, that one day. No. Yeah, for Cholamoid. No, it's just that one day. They only bring the crowds. They rent out the whole park for one day. So that one day they set up a sukkah. Could you use it afterwards, or you have to wait till after sukkahs to use it?
I would think you could if it was.
That's what I'm saying. It's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
We need a place to eat. They're setting up a sukkah for us, so you'd be able to. Once it's dismantled, you could use it for something else. No. There, There it's set up. But the goy allows you to use it. It does make a difference.
It's like he's building a hut that has all the requirements of the sukkah, that's all.
Yeah, right. Using it definitely. We're talking using it for something other than a sukkah. That's what we're speaking. Since it was designated for usage for one day, I have to use it once or so many hours, right? Park opens at 9, closes at 6. From 9 to 6, we need a location for Jews to eat in the sukkah.
I just don't understand that case because the religious Jews are not going to the Six Flags on Sukkot itself. They go there on
Chol Hamoed, so same thing.
So if they want to designate it for the whole of Sukkot, the 7 days?
No. They put up a sukkah to accommodate their clientele, the people who come.
Days.
Not for 7 days. They'll take it down the next day. Six Flags taking it down the next day.
So they're dismantling every day and putting it up the next
No,
day?
there's no day. They rent out the park one day. One day the park's rented out
To whom?
to religious groups coming.
Yeah, but they're not doing that on Yom Tov itself.
They could set up that sukkah whenever they want. They're not Jewish. They set up the sukkah whenever it's their own when they set it up. They give this. We need a sukkah. You want us to come to your park? We need a place to eat. Chol Hamoed, so they set up a sukkah for them. They call up a sukkah company. They build it and put it up for them, and they use it for one day. That's it. After that day, if it's dismantled and you want to use that material for whatever else, would it be okay? That's our discussion.
It seems that one day's usage by so many people does have some significance. As opposed to, I want to go into the bathroom and I need to take my tefillin and I'm going to put it in the paper bag. And that's it. Never again. I'm at an airport, I just,
No.
That
That's called
seems-
temporary uses. No, that's all
That is
temporary.
temporary.
Let's say 1,000 people want to use that same paper bag. 1,000 people have to go into the location. Each one has tefillin. He wants to use a paper bag. Can I borrow the bag? So it's only because we have to go now. Not the paper bag. This becomes the location of the paper bag. I have to protect my tefillin, so therefore I need a double covering. I need it. And afterwards, whatever. It's not on a permanent usage. It's because I have to go into this location, which is not permitted to be my tefillin.
Right.
So it assumes no special status, that bag. You can throw the bag away afterwards. You can have 100,000 people using that bag.
And what if I put that bag aside? I was going on a long trip with several stops, and I wanted to make sure that I could do this at every stop. So it's more than one time. Just sort of increased the.
It's not on a permit. That's not permanent. It has to be a permit. This is going to be the location of my tefillin. Let's say personally, this will be the location of my tefillin for the next 2 weeks. The location of the tefillin. Then it assumes the status. Here, it's not my location of my tefillin. I have to transport my tefillin. I have to protect them. Therefore, I'm putting them in the bag. Right, the people well, we said here also it's the person who's using it. So I'm using it just today. Right, same thing. Right, exactly. Okay.